Welcome to CEO Money. I'm Michael Yorba. Thanks for joining us. My guest today is Robert Rhodes, Senior Financial Consultant of Third Coast Aviation. Robert, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much.
Tell us about your company, what it's doing, where you're going, and then I want to get into the flight training services and the bigger picture.
Oh, great. Thank you. So Third Coast Aviation is reimagining a transportation system across the Texas Gulf Coast. Really, we focus on the parameters that make a transportation system using aviation important. Number one, there's a pilot shortage. So we've started our business with a flight school that gives us ready access to pilots in the area, in our service area. Secondly, planes. The aircraft, surprisingly, in the general aviation area outside of jets, there's only about 2,500 to 3,000 created each year, manufactured. And out of that, you have about 2,000 that are being sent out for salvage. So therefore, we are actually falling behind on the number of planes available. So what we've done is we've created an ADM business line, acquisition, disposition, and management service that allows us to be first in line, so to speak, to purchase aircraft at the right price. Another business line, of course, is charter services, and charter services require you to have a license or a certificate from the FAA. So as part of our business plan, we're acquiring a charter service. And then lastly, what's missing today is being able to go to the airport and get through to across the Texas Gulf Coast in a timely fashion, as opposed to getting patted down by the TSA and spending 3 hours at the airport. So what we envision is an executive office system that is extended from the Houston headquarters throughout the 600-mile radius around the Texas Gulf Coast. This allows someone to project their business throughout the Texas Gulf Coast, and it's seamless as to their clients seeing them in Houston or in Amarillo or in El Paso or in Houma, Louisiana, because we will have facilities in each one of those areas. So those are the four business lines that make up our business.
Brilliant. Tell me about the size and scope of the acquisition of airlines that you're talking about. Now, the 2-seater, 12-seater, jets, props, those.
Well, thank you. That's a good question. Everyone thinks that jets are sexy, but here's the truth about jets or turboprops. They're basically jets with a prop, like the King Air. That's a big one for one of the groups that's very popular in marketing circles right now is Wheels Up. They have a great service. It cost about $2,500 an hour to run that turboprop. So imagine you're a small business owner and you need to jump in a plane and go from Houston to Midland, Odessa. That's where a lot of the Permian Basin oil and gas is being done right now. And by small business owner, I'm talking about a business owner with about $2 million in business. If they jumped in Wheels Up, they'd have about a $27,000 bill.
Right.
That's not a small business owner.
That's right.
So let's say that they jumped in the car, went over to Houston Hobby, and jumped on a Southwest Airlines airliner, got there, and then jumped on one to come back. They'd end up spending about $3,800, but more importantly, they would have spent almost 9 hours getting to the airport, getting patted down by their friendly TSA guys. I mean, some people just love to get patted down. And so all of a sudden that $3,800 starts to chart. It really cost them, if they had 4 of their friends with them or cohorts in their business, starts to cost them upwards of $10,000 or $11,000 when you put a time value of money in them.
Right.
So with our focus on props, single props, double props, we can deliver our service at about $1,700 an hour. We could go down as low as $500 an hour because that's our cost. Now we start to be competitive with the Southwest Airlines, and we start to beat the wheels up with the small business owner marketplace.
And let's not forget time value of money using your service versus commercial. Bring that up.
Well, the time value of money, wouldn't it be nice to park your car, literally walk up within 30 seconds, walk onto a plane? Yeah, it's a 6-seater. It probably runs about 150 miles an hour, but it gets you to Midland in less than 3 hours. So literally, if you took the average commute to the airport, and sitting there is about 3 hours now. That was a statistic that I read the other day. So it's 3 hours there plus almost 2 hours in the air with Southwest. You're talking 5 hours versus just 3 hours for our service.
Much better.
So
I see the picture there, and everybody is going to connect that dot. Now you mentioned that we're going behind on the production of aircraft, and the pace isn't keeping up. There's also, with every aircraft, there's at least one, if not two pilots, and that is a need you're fulfilling too. Bring that out.
Right now, the FAA, due to some crashes and whatnot, have said, hey, look, when you hit 65 as a pilot for one of the major airlines, you have to retire. Well, that has caused there to be a huge shortage of pilots. And really, the whole system has been rigged against a lot of pilots being available. Number one, the military is using less pilots and keeping them for more time. In fact, I just read where they're giving a $150,000 bonus when your enlistment runs out to stay on in the military because it's cheaper. I don't have to train new guys. And the regionals, they are just searching for new pilots. And yet we still have a non-professional flight school arena out there where there's a bunch of bubbas and trucks and planes delivering services. And that's where our flight school is focused not on generating, revenue for a certified flight instructor. What it's focused on is delivering pilots for our own business lines, our own services, integrating the aircraft ADM, that's the acquisition, disposition, and management for students who want to grab their planes, and helping them get their commercial license, and then putting them in the right seat, which allows them to build hours. They have to have 1,500 hours to become an ATP pilot. That's airline transport pilot, ATP pilot. They have to have 1,500 hours to be eligible to go work for a commercial airlines. So that's what we're focused on in our flight school.
That is brilliant. The amount of pilots that you're working with right now, in other words, trainees going into actual right seat employees, give us that and what you think the growth rate is as you go forward.
The statistics are pretty amazing in the industry. Just to get your private pilot's license, the FAA requires 40 hours of work within the plane itself. The industry average right now is closer to 75 hours is what it takes before people are able to take their check rides and pass their check rides for their private pilot's license. So therefore, our school itself has 33 pilots, student pilots that are in process right now. We have 15 what I'll call every once in a while not serious pilots that are getting their instrument ratings or working on their commercial pilots, as they feel like it. So we have a fairly large group. We've been told by one of the AOPA ambassadors for the area, that we are the third largest flight school in Houston, Texas, out of 18. That's not bad for less than 2 years in business. Our goal, though, is to generate these pilots to such an extent that they can take the right seat, so that's the co-pilot seat in a charter airlines that allows them to build up to the 1,500 hours so that they can go on to commercial airlines. It's really, the charter area gives them the ability to build their hours so that they can go on to commercial airlines. That's just a fact of our life, that a lot of the guys want to do that. What's funny is that a lot of those commercial pilots are coming back to us and saying, you know what, we don't like the lifestyle that provides, because as a commercial airlines pilot, you're not at home. As a charter pilot, you're at home.
I agree. I was talking to a friend of mine who owns a software company, and he was saying that before we had you on the show, he was saying that this is a brilliant model moving forward, because he has children. He said, as I'm going through, I'm paying for my children's education, and let's say that they wanted to follow in my footsteps and be a software developer. I've got 15 or 20 of those working for me right now, and I pay them anywhere from $12 to $25 an hour. If I had paid for, instead of a liberal arts degree or a engineering degree, if I'd have paid for them to go and be a pilot, they would be far better off lifestyle and revenue and retirement plan than if I had paid for them to go to college in their chosen field and then hoped that they got a decent job with a good company. It seems to me that this is a niche that you've hit that's going to be greater for the millennials, because you're always looking for younger people to come through and that's who they are, for millennials to at least get a foothold and not have that massive, massive college debt as soon as they graduate, and then hope to get a job that allows them to pay that off. That's right.
For pilots, your private pilot's license costs anywhere from $8,000 to $15,000. You can do it in as little as a couple of months if you're doing that full time. We like to say anywhere from 6 to 9 months. And then getting your commercial pilot's license, that requires 250 hours behind the yoke in a plane. And so that normally takes about 3 years, 3 to 4 years if you're serious about it. And the cost associated with this is somewhere between $75,000 and $110,000. But there's a lot of opportunity to actually work right after you get your commercial pilot's license, because many of these guys get their certified flight instructor, and we put them in our process under our chief pilot. He toodles them on how to deliver our services, and then provides check rides on their students. So they're also working towards the ATP, the 1,500 hours for a commercial airline.
Yeah, the thing that gets me is with the demand factor right now, they're in a job right away and they're making money right away. They don't have to hit the streets and hope somebody hires them, or hope that one of their fraternity brothers can bring them in. You've hit a niche, and I see that this is going to be growing great. Is there anything that I may have not brought to the surface that you think, before we sign off, that our viewers should know about you, your company, your growth path, or even the potential for an investor to hopefully get a piece of the action as you grow?
Boy, I appreciate you teeing that up. We're in the process right now of doing a crowdfunding offering. So we should be opening that up in the next couple of weeks. We're seeking $1 million in the initial round. We're seeking an extra $10 million to implement the charter service as well as the executive office system around the Texas Gulf Coast. So in the next month, let's say, there will be an opportunity for your viewers and the internet at large to be aware of our offering and to participate in it.
Brilliant. Robert, thanks for being a guest on the show.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure. All right, you've been watching CEO Money with Michael Yorba. Don't forget to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and sign up for our social media newsletter, and sign up sign up for our YouTube channel. We'll be back with more great content just for you.